But what I'd say to anybody who's thinking about all the moving pieces when it comes to Shopify is that there's really just three main systems that you need. And the three main systems you need are number
Hey everyone, I'm here with Chris Heckman. How you doing, Chris?
living the dream. Juna, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, of course. I didn't realize that I've never had you on my channel. We've talked together and stuff. I actually saw you in person in Latvia, which was really cool. We did that whole thing together and with of course with other people as well. But it's great to finally have you on my channel. This is awesome.
Yeah, I remember seeing you for the first time in Latvia, and I
Yeah,
whispered to my wife Meg. I was like, I think that's Juna.
yeah,
Went running over to you. I was like, Juna.
that's right.
It felt like meeting like a gamer friend in real
Yeah,
life for the first
yeah.
time.
In real life, IRL.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, we got to chat on the sofa and everything, and he showed me at the time he showed me Mystic, which is really cool. We're gonna get into some of that. But have so many questions. I'm I'm taking your WeScale thing with course and doing some Shopify stuff to my site and learning more about Shopify. So I thought I'd have you on, especially because a video that I did before was talking about Amazon price changes, and it got me really thinking about like, what if Amazon actually shuts down or makes it so that it's not that profitable? Where should I go? And the first thing I thought was Shopify, and the next thing I thought was I need Chris's help. And so Chris, you know everything there is to know about Shopify. So I thought I'd have you on my channel because I think a lot of other people probably have the same fears and questions that I do, and I think this interview would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we see all the time with
Yeah,
people who are starting on Shopify is they had some kind of pre-existing business or brand on either Etsy or Merch by Amazon.
yeah,
And then exactly like you mentioned, uh, fees going up. There's definitely still opportunities there, like no
yeah,
doubt, but I think it's really smart for people to be hedging their bets. And like we'll talk about today, the really good thing about it is that the main skill that you've been building on
yeah.
Merch by Amazon or Etsy is designs,
Yes,
and that's the most important thing over on
awesome.
Shopify. It's absolutely no different.
That's cool. Yeah, we'll get more into that. I think that's one of the questions is like that I have in here. So, first thing before I get into all the Shopify questions is, could you tell us kind of really quickly your origin story? I know you've been doing this a long, long time, but how did you get started and how did you become a Shopify expert?
Yeah, so the quick version is after I graduated college, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. Ended up taking a job that I was really not that excited about and quickly started researching how to start an online business. But I had no community, no people around me, no mentors, like a lot of people start out. And so I was just Googling and stumbled across e-commerce and Shopify in particular, and fast forwarding through the story, I was working night shift at Amazon as like an area manager while I was starting my first brands. And so I would wake up at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, go to Amazon, come back at 7 or 8 in the morning, work on my stores for a couple of hours, go to bed, wake up, rinse and repeat.
Wow.
And that continued for a while and was pretty painful because I was just losing so much money and I had no idea what I was really doing until I joined a community. Somebody that I had known from previous life reached out, said that they were putting together a group of 12 entrepreneurs all living under the same roof. And that's really where it all started because
Mm,
we were together in total for about 4.5 years, all of us under one roof, working on Shopify, doing all different types of fulfillment, drop shipping, 3PL, and then print on demand was kind of the big unlock that skyrocketed a lot of our success. And it was just the kind of environment where everybody in the beginning, nobody really knew what we were doing, but we had a goal of like growing our own brands. And at the same time, we had a desire to help the people that were around us. So you would come down to the kitchen table like 7 or 8 in the morning, and there would already be 5 or 6 people there working on their ads, talking about what had worked well the day before, what they were testing today, what their metrics had been. So we were benchmarking against each other and everybody was testing different stuff. So rather than before, where I was growing at the rate of one person or learning rather, we were now learning at the rate of 12. And then take that same environment, that incubator, if you will, across 4.5 years, and that's really where our relatively quick rise came from. So by the end, my business partner and I had built 6 different brands to $1 million in the first 12 years.
Oh,
Ended up exiting from a couple of those brands like Yoga Stay. Um, and then, yeah, and then I did another brand with my dad called History Teas. And that one we exited from as well. And now I have a current brand with my wife, Meg, that we run, doing basically the exact same business model.
that's awesome. Yeah, I forgot to mention up here, 25 million in sales with Shopify POD. That's amazing. That's an amazing story. And you kind of did the I heard that Mr. Beast did that as well, where he was like, that's all they did, like day after day, just over and over with other people and learned so much faster. So that's a
Yeah,
great
and
story. Yeah.
it was the learning, and it was also like the competitive element in
Yeah.
like a healthy competition,
Right.
because it kind of reset your expectations of what was possible.
Yeah.
Because as you know, we would all be around 1 to 3 grand a day in sales, like doing
Wow.
pretty well, and then we'd look over to our right and we'd see somebody had just crossed 10 grand in
It's like,
sales
how'd
that
you
day.
do that? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, how'd you do that? And then two, I
Teach
know that
me.
that person
Yeah.
they have all the same skills and tools and stuff
Yeah.
available to them. So if it's possible for them, why isn't it
Exactly.
possible for me? So then we
Yep.
would all, raise and then go back and forth. And so it kind of became each person would kind of reset the norm, and then that would motivate and show everybody else what was
So cool.
possible.
That's amazing. That's a great story, and learned a lot quicker than just by yourself. So that's the key takeaway, I think, is that you put in the hours, but then times it by how many people were there. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we know that you're expert, did so many sales, you can help us a lot with this. You have so much information. Why is Shopify a good idea for those that are doing print on demand now? And why now? Why is now a good time to go get into it?
Yeah, definitely. And also 25 million in sales, all that really means is I've made 25 million and one mistakes.
Right.
So I can certainly attest to like the challenges that come along with Shopify. I have the bruises and the bags under my eyes to prove it. But to me, it comes down to like, what is the goal of, when somebody starts a new business, not we might look out a week or month and say, I hope that, I'm making X number of dollars by this period, but what our real goal is a long-term change. We're trying to build something for the future. We don't want to build a business that's, built to start. We want to build one that's built to last. And to me, when you look at everything that's possible with print on demand versus 3PL drop shipping, print on demand is by far the best because it comes down to you're able to create unique products, really build a brand and something that differentiate yourself. At the same time, you're delivering high quality products, fast shipping speed. So it just checks all the boxes of like a good brand experience. But then the challenge is that with drilling into print on demand, it's normally like Etsy, Merch by Amazon, or Shopify. And if you bundle the marketplaces together, and again, not saying there's no opportunity or anything of the sort, I think it can be a great way to get started. But to me, when you're on a marketplace, and I used to work with Amazon sellers, so I know this really well. You're basically whoever owns the cash flow is who owns the real business. And so, as long as the cash flow is going through a marketplace, that's the real business, and we're just essentially a contractor to them. And the way we know that is like we don't get any of the customer data. We're not able to follow up, and basically two there's a list, but two main things is one, they can adjust the fees whenever and however they want, and there's nothing we can really do about it. And two, they can just Thanos snap your business away overnight. And then also the third piece would be you're competing on price, like it's commoditized, like just side by side, and it's search find buy, opposed to if you take all those same skills, the ability to make good designs and do research and deliver to the market what they're actually looking for and then improve on it in some way. You transplant all those same skills just to a different business foundation, which is essentially recreate like what is a marketplace and why is it good? Well, it's traffic, it converts well, and then on like Merch by Amazon, it has the fulfillment. Like, and they have email marketing that we just don't have access to. What if we could recreate all those same elements but own 100% of it instead of just taking like a commission fee off of it? And that's exactly what we're doing with Shopify. The downside to it, and in everybody's mind that we'll talk more about, is the learning curve and how there's the conception that you have to spend a lot of money on ads and it's really, really challenging. And like all that is true, that with the exception of you don't have to spend a lot on ads if you know what you're doing. But when it comes to building a business, having a barrier to entry is actually a good thing because that's your competitive advantage. And so when there is a learning curve, that means that there's not going to be as many people jumping into it because you had to put in the time to learn those skills. And so back to the business to start versus one to last, Shopify gives us the ability to have that competitive advantage where we're not competing on price, just side by side, because we're doing pattern interrupt marketing. We're competing with cat videos and family photos on Facebook and Instagram, which totally different ball game. And then the way more important thing is that we get all of that customer data. And so the first sale on merch by Amazon or Etsy, like that's pretty much the full story to a certain extent. On Shopify, and when you're building your own brand, that's really just the first page of a story with that customer. Because then you deliver on an amazing experience. You basically have to capitalize on all the benefits of print on demand. You deliver an amazing experience with fast shipping times, high quality products, and then you get their contact information. So then every time you're launching new designs, you can release a new collection. We just did this last week. Release a new collection of 50 designs. Simply send an email to our list and no discount, no nothing, selling the shirts at $30 a piece. And that one email did $2,500 in sales.
Wow.
And so that's 50% profit. And we can send those emails up to twice a week, plus all the email flows and everything else on top of it. So you're really, and when we went to sell our companies, the most interesting asset to them was the customer list, was, how many people do you have, number one, and then two, what's the quality of the list? Are people coming back? Because that's a compounding vehicle in the business that as you keep putting in the effort, you keep acquiring more customers, that builds and builds and builds into a giant snowball going in your favor. And if you're on a marketplace, you can get cash flow, but all the things we talked about, and you certainly don't have like a compounding vehicle in that.
Yeah, really cool. And I heard you mention this before, but like print on demand is not going away, right? Like this now is a really good time because the future is pretty bright on how many people are going to be shopping with print on demand and with Shopify. And so can you talk a little bit more about that, like the differences of
Yeah.
where the trajectory of where it's going, like currently?
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally all in on print on demand with WeScale and Mystic and my own brand.
Hmm.
Everything is centered around print on demand. And before making that decision, I wanted to make sure that it was something that's not just, a hot topic right now, which I think can be a misconception, especially since it's been talked about on YouTube for years and years at this point. And, so it can seem like, it might have already passed. But if you look at a growth chart of where it's going to be going, and I can actually share my screen really quick
All
if we
right. Yeah.
demonstrate this. We when you look at a growth chart of where it's actually going, it's genuinely never been a better time to get started
Cool.
because here we go.
Yeah, I think some people are thinking, I've heard of print on demand before, and I've seen like it's saturated or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the reality of it, I'll just jump down to the print on demand market.
Yeah.
We're here in 2025, and this
Wow,
is
look
just
at
the
that.
US print on demand market. Yeah, it's like we're just getting started. And even if you look back, like, I don't know, when print on demand really started getting popular, 2020, 2021, that's we've grown a fraction compared to where we're going to be. So it's going to be roughly 4 times the size by 2030, which is all said and done a really, really good sign. 24% annual growth is really fast for any
Hmm.
e-commerce market. And the real indicator of this is it's not just number of sellers entering the market. The really important thing to keep in mind is that the demand for the products that are being sold through print on demand is rising on the consumer end. So completely forgetting about sellers, just people out in the real world are exhibiting more demand than ever and increasing amounts of it for like graphic apparel,
Yeah.
for home decor, customized apparel. So all those things, that's why print on demand is growing, is because the consumer demand is there for it.
Nice. Okay, so you've answered my questions of like, is this a great business to start? Yes. So what are some, so if I want to get into Shopify, you mentioned some of these before. I think a lot of people are like, oh man, Shopify is really hard. What are some of the biggest hurdles that you've heard? I bet you've heard all of them. So maybe you can kind of talk to us and tell us why these hurdles may not be some big hurdles. You mentioned some of those things already, but maybe there's more?
Yeah. So the biggest hurdles in getting started with Shopify is honestly just the collection of designs and getting those initial. We recommend starting with at least 100 designs, which to Merch by Amazon sellers or Etsy sellers isn't even that's nothing. It's a drop in
Yeah.
the bucket. Um, but on Shopify, it's you step one, pick a niche. So we had yoga stay. Make sure that it's a niche that people are passionate about. Step two, do a bunch of research and make sure that the designs you're about to make are delivering on something that the market actually wants. Then step three, make a really good mock-up that's branded and unique to your niche. You can look at anybody can go to yogastay.co, look at that mock-up. It performed really well, where it's striking, makes really good ad creative. And then step four is we we have up until now we had an idea that this is a good niche because we did our research. We think we have good designs because we did more research, and then we think we have a good mock-up. But we don't really know until and as I've become more experienced, all that I'm extremely confident in saying is that I need to test everything because I don't know. And fun fact is that the top 1% of Facebook advertisers test 7 times more than the average. So it's not like as you become better, you test less and less and you just like know the golden formula. It's you realize that you can only know so much and you have to test. So that's what we do. And when it comes to the Facebook ads, we start off very simple. And the reason that this is way simpler than it's ever been is because of something called catalog ads on Facebook. So basically, just like you upload your products into Merch by Amazon or Etsy, you upload them into your Shopify store. And then we set up a simple connection between Shopify to Facebook. And that connection ports in all of our cataloged products. So on Facebook, in order to test 100 products, you used to have to sit there and make ad after ad. And we did all this for years. And it was just very monotonous. And then a lot of times, many of them didn't work. Now, catalog ads, you literally set up one ad and it tests through all the products for you. And then when it's testing them, we're looking for standout ads to see which ones are performing well. And there's a lot of metrics you can look at. One matters the most, and that's the cost per click. And we're aiming for products that are in the 50 to 75 cent range. And then once we see that, we just double and triple down on those designs. And to give a final example on this is when we launched history tees, for example, we casted a wide net. So we wanted to make sure we weren't making any assumptions about what people are going to want. So we did some humor, some sarcasm, some like blueprint art, some like just history facts. I personally really like the blueprint art. Nobody else did, but that's okay. What actually ended up doing really well was sarcastic, humorous shirt. It was Lincoln 5-star review about Ford's Theater, and that one took off. And the catalog ad gave all the spend to that, and it was getting like 20 cent cost per clicks. So then literally the next day we just started making a lot more designs that were like that. So then we basically started taking historical figures with funny or sarcastic facts or jokes, scaled out the whole collection, and then by that point the ads start getting profitable because we have enough of those designs on the site. So then the ads become profitable, then we just start increasing the budgets and then get into email and all that other kind of fun stuff.
Wow, that's cool. My next question was going to be, how do you know if a design is good? But I think you kind of answered that. Was you kind of just test, right? You put up a bunch of things, and the market will tell you what's the best design that sells the best.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. It sounds like a lot more moving parts than honestly than Amazon, which is good because more less competition because more takes some skill to learn this. But do you have anything that can help us learn all of these things, maybe step by step or a video or something?
Yeah, so that's exactly what we help people with in WeScale University.
Okay, talk about
Uh,
that.
Basically, going from zero or like picking your niche, and we have people that from all around the world. A lot of people who have never sold even a single design, just getting started, and they have a goal of building a brand. And in there, we have the training course that's 30 plus hours. We have coaches who have done over $50 billion in sales. Several of them I used to live with. And we have templates and resources that we're using today. And to your question specifically, we have our own brand. So like everything we're teaching is not based off of just what worked in the past, but what's still working today. And so we're still constantly testing and tweaking things. And then we take the templates, like the best performing emails, best performing like customer service GPTs, and we just share all that with the community. And uh, that process has worked really well to basically give people the feedback they need and the steps to follow. But obviously, there's been a lot of insane wins in the community, but always full credit goes to the people in the community for showing up and putting in the work. But what I'd say to anybody who's thinking about all the moving pieces when it comes to Shopify is that there's really just three main systems that you need. And once you have those systems dialed in, which is honestly way simpler than I ever tried to make it, I always thought we needed some complex project management system and like all this crazy stuff. In reality, the simplest solution is often the best. And the three main systems you need are number one, a design system. So new designs, which is the lifeblood of your brand, is constantly getting injected. Two, you need a customer service system. So when a message comes into your brand, who's answering it? How do they answer it? This is where AI can be a huge help. And then third, you need a marketing system. So you need product to sell, you need support for it to get fulfilled, and then third, you need a way for people to find out about it. And for that, just honing in on what's the one tool that you're using or one designer. Then two, we just use customer service GPTs. So when a message or a Facebook comment comes in, we literally just copy paste it in and it already knows our brand voice and policies and all that kind of stuff. And then they just copy paste it back. And then finally, for marketing, we just have a very simple system where as long as new designs are getting injected in, then the ads are running well. And final story I can comment on this is that when we first launched History Tees, it was my dad's brand. He had never done anything with e-commerce, nothing at all. He's just a big fan of history. And I helped him launch his first ads. And I made one ad as an example. And I was like, all right, this is just one example. You need to make a bunch more. Here's what I would do. And I came back about 2 weeks later and I said, so how's it going? Like, have you sold anything? He's like, yeah, I'm at about, I think he's about 13 grand in sales.
Oh,
I was like,
jeez.
wow, did you take like an ads course? Did you like really deep dive and been spending 12 hours a day on this? He's like, no, I've just been increasing the budget. I'm like, what? Okay, like stop pulling my leg. What, like, what's the name of the course you took? He's like, no, I'm serious. And no joke, I pulled up his ad account and he hadn't made a single new ad. He had just run the one ad that I had made, and it just so happened that that ad had the Lincoln 5 star pulled into it. So it was a insane, like insanely viral design. A lot of luck involved with this, but the moral of the story or point is to demonstrate the impact that having a really good design, it just makes the marketing and everything else so much easier. So he was complete beginner, just knew some history facts, had worked with a designer to come up with some decent designs, and the rest is history. No pun intended. God, I hate myself for that, but there it
That's a
is.
good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I forgot to talk about. I should have put in here WeScale. I'm doing that as well. I'm in the community. Maybe you can share. Can you share some stats or some success stories? I know that those are really popular in there. Just like you already shared one with History Teas. I don't know if you have any other ones to share, but
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's a
there's
school community, right? Is
yeah,
WeScale. So
it's
I'll put
that's exact. It's a school community where um I'm pulling up the slides that has
okay.
a bunch that here we go.
I'll put the link in the description to school to the community, so you can go in there, take a look at it, and um, yeah, enjoy. There's like you said, what you did in the beginning with your intro story is you're kind of doing the same thing with school, right? With WeScale, it's like we're all learning together. We're not in the same house, but we're in the same community, and kind of can learn from in there. And there's boards and people sharing success stories and how they did this and how they did that, and learn from each other. So that I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and that's you said it better than I could. That's exactly the goal is in hindsight, at the time, we certainly did not realize it, but in hindsight, it's abundantly clear how big of an impact it had on myself, my own growth, being in that kind of community, and looking out into the world. I didn't really see that many opportunities like that for somebody who didn't just magically get a phone call someday inviting them into one. So we wanted to create something like that. That's for anybody anywhere in the world at a price point that's affordable. And then what if we sprinkled in, coaches who have done an absurd amount in sales and a training program for people to go through and basically take the best of the best. And the results from all the effort that people have been putting in
Oh,
has
yeah,
been,
let me show that. All right. Look at this.
yeah,
This is from WeScale. Yeah.
yeah, these are just posts that people have shared in the community. Like the number of
Wow.
people who have broken past 10K in sales,
Wow.
1 to 2K. Like this person did 1,500 yesterday,
Jeez.
45K in a month, 100K in 30 days. Like
It
the
works, man. It works.
the the list just, yeah, this person had a pretty
Whoa,
insane
look at
month.
that spike.
Yeah, but and yeah, it just goes on and on. But the most important thing is like obviously results are not typical. These people like deserve full credit,
Right.
like
They did the work.
completely on their own. They did
Yep.
the work. Yeah, they showed up. And most important thing and the biggest trait that I've seen or commonality between people that have had the best results is it's not if they had a design background or if they had a marketing background or even anything in e-commerce. It's quite honestly just the people who are able to show up and be objective and eager to learn. And when they get a piece of feedback, as an example, whether it's from a coach or way more importantly from the market, they don't ever have like an emotional response to that. And emotional responses could be like, well, I worked so hard on this already, it should work, like, or think that they're owed anything by anybody. They never have that mindset. It's always, I worked on this thing, I put it out to the world, and I get feedback on how I can improve it. And that's an exciting thing. And then the amount of time for when they get that feedback to when they do something about it is dramatically compressed. So
Mhm.
like when we launched History Tees, we could have looked at it and said, so 99 designs didn't do well, that sucks, and like that just slows us down. Or we could see one design did really well, that's super exciting, we got a winner, let's very quickly iterate and build a brand around that. Those
Mhm.
two responses, and it's like a nuance difference between the two, and it just takes self-awareness and really uh being excited about learning every day. And like every time there's a new challenge, repeating to ourselves that challenges like this are exactly why not everybody would be able to do it, and that's exactly why I'm going to win.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've only been there less than a week, and you're in that community, but I've seen so many helpful things, and I've gone through the little courses, and not little, they're actually pretty big.
Yeah.
But I've been through a bunch of those, and they've been really helpful. Things that I didn't know about Shopify because I've never done Shopify. But yeah, the step by step, you really explain it really well on how to do this and where to get that, and if you need this, and then of course there's experts on there that's not only going through it with you, but people that have done it over and over again. So that's super super helpful. Can't wait to see how my Shopify store does. So it'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to talk about that, but you also do, like I mentioned earlier, is Mystic, and I've been using
Yeah.
it. I don't know if you saw that it made it to the top four of my print
Yeah,
on
that was
demand.
it. I
Yeah.
was following along.
So it's awesome, and the thing is that it's still in beta, which is crazy that it can compete against these multi-million dollar AI apps that have been doing this for a lot longer time. So can you talk a little bit about Mystic, maybe some things that could be coming up, and
Yeah.
what you see in the future for Mystic?
Yeah, definitely. So Mystic is basically the app that I wish I had all along. That's actually how we got started. Is when all these AI tools started coming out, I realized that there wasn't really anything out there that was built just specifically for print on demand sellers.
Mhm.
And in running our brand, we need to be making new designs all the time. So I started hacking together something with my brother, who's a developer, seeing what we could build, and basically came up with an internal tool. And then I just shot. I was like, I wonder if anybody else would be interested in using something like this, where it basically generates the prompts and we just tell it a little bit about the brand. It generates the prompts for you, then generates the images, and we're just able to choose and pick the winners. That was like the MVP version of it, and made a video, and people loved it. So everybody's feedback was super helpful with that. And so over the past like 18 months now, we've built it into full-fledged software that's basically the AI companion for any print on demand seller. So it's um, and the things that are coming up right now is we have a massive templates library that we're building,
Ooh.
and the real goal is that as a print on demand seller, you're able to go from concept, like the niche or market that you want to serve, to hundreds of print ready designs like on mockups and published to your site within minutes. And that process used to take weeks and months. Like work like on Yoga Stay, it took us at least 2.5 weeks, thousands and thousands of dollars on designers. Now, even with general AI tools, you can do it in much less. Our goal is to get that time down to about 5 to 10 minutes, and we think it's
Wow.
very possible. And so that means basically all the models that we're training, all the prompting techniques that we're using, it's designed so that anybody, doesn't matter if you have zero AI experience or zero print on demand, you're able to get in and just talk to it like how you would talk to your friends or family, just describing the design, and it understands. Because we know, unlike a lot of the competitors out there, we know everybody coming to Mystic is a print on demand seller, that you want t-shirts or apparel or home decor. So every output that you're getting is custom tailored to that goal. So you can choose your product type, choose the design style. And so we're adding things like all the generations being on background removed, new mockup features, AI listing tools, and then eventually integrating with all the major platforms. You're able to just directly publish your products straight to your store.
Wow, that's exciting. I think one of the reasons why it's such a winner is because you know exactly what print on demand sellers need, whereas some of the other AI apps are just very broad. Like it does pictures, it does graphics, right? But you know that we need the background removed, we need it to be on mockups, we need the listings, like all these things. And so I think it's just going to keep getting better and better, and specifically for print on demand. And that, I think that's why that video, I did a video when it first came out, and I like AI for print on demand, and everybody like, yay, we need this one, we need this one. Yeah.
Right. And because like the technology, right, on the
Yeah.
other platforms is incredible, like no denying that. But
Yeah.
the difference between a top selling design and just a really good
Right.
looking design is the concept. And that's
Right.
what we're spending, like that's what our whole team is working on, is how do we come up with best selling, yes, designs, but more importantly, the concept and pairing those two together.
Yep.
It's like Lincoln 5-star review, for example, sold tens of thousands of units. That could have been designed a dozen different ways and
Hmm.
most likely still been a super top seller. But if it all came down to the concept. And so coming up with that piece, that's something that it doesn't matter what image model or anything you're using, you'll never be able to come up with that like just as a standalone. You'll be able to come up with the good design, but you need the input first. So
Yep.
leveraging all the data that we have access to, all of the feedback from all the users, then obviously all the painful trial and error that I've had to go through myself over the years, applying all that to building like the perfect tools so that anybody's able to get started with print on demand and creating products that actually people want to wear, and not just things that look nice and but should maybe be hung up on the fridge rather than on a shirt.
True. So true. I've seen all of those in other AI apps. So yeah, thanks so much for everything you've done with the WeScale and the Mystic and all of that's just helping a lot of print on demand sellers just, do what they love doing anyway, and making a business out of it. So being able to do that from home and everything, I know I've benefited from it. I know you have, and just helping other people do the same is such a cool thing.
No, that
Anything?
that thank you,
Yeah.
Juna.
Yeah.
Shouting out you. Like you put out some of the best content, like most genuine, hands down, most genuine YouTuber
Oh man,
in the
thanks,
world.
man.
And yeah, the content that you put out really helps. I see people in our community posting your videos and stuff all the time. Like the
Oh,
amount of
thanks.
detail and care that you put in your videos, like really, really makes an impact. So
Yeah,
thank you
I
for that.
think, thank you. I think like you've mentioned this. I've heard you mention this before, but because it's really helped your life and stuff, it's just nice to give back and help other people and make sure that they can have the life that they want too. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think all of these really help. Anything else before that's all my questions. You've answered all perfectly. Anything else you want to share before we leave here? Anything I'm missing?
No, I think we covered a lot of good stuff.
Okay.
Just final words for anybody who's considering getting
Yes.
started with Shopify is that it's uh, a lot of the things that you've heard about Facebook ads and stuff being overly expensive. That comes from people who jump into ads before they're ready, before
Mm-hmm.
they have good products, before they have a good store.
Yeah.
And then they have the false notion that you have to spend money to make money. So you have something that's unproven, not going to convert, and then they just overly spend on it thinking that's the solution.
Yeah.
What I can say from experience is that increasing the amount we're spending on ads is not the solution. What we if anybody's considering this, start with a tiny testing budget and put all of like 10% of your effort on the ads, 90% of effort on your designs, exactly like you
Mm-hmm.
do already.
Mm-hmm.
And then you set a budget you're comfortable with, and then you never spend past that. And just once you dial that number in and spend like even a couple $100s on a monthly basis for testing, and you're bringing in sales in the meantime, that's the starting point. So like anybody goes for this, we would love to have you join us in WeScale University so we can give you feedback and stuff. But even if not, just keep your testing budgets low. It doesn't need to be anything in the thousands and thousands. Um, but yeah, it's an exciting future ahead for print on demand and certainly
Yeah.
for brand owners.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've been going through the course myself. I'm not all the way through it, obviously, but I like that it's made in a way that it's step by step. Because someone going into it, like you said, may just rush into doing ads or doing something else wrong. And I like that you have it laid out, like do this first. This is the mindset you need. This is the things that you need to do first, and stuff. And then yeah, it's just a great community, and to have someone answer all the questions and like figure out like why isn't this working, you can go and ask, and stuff. So I'll put that link in again in the description to WeScale. It's a great community. And hopefully if you want to do Shopify and thinking about doing Shopify, I think it's one of the best. So thanks, Chris. Thanks for being on my channel. Thanks for all the tips, and for all the help as well.
No, thank you, Gina. Thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully you guys got a useful tidbit or two. But
All
thanks for
right.
hanging out.
See you guys later. Bye.